The snakening continues. We have so many new trios on NA. I'm going to cover who the new trios are, why they split up with their old trios, and how they're now doing. Did they end up on a better team, and how did they place in our Div 1 qualifiers? I also want to talk about some crazy changes to competitive. We have a buff to aim assist. Simple edits has been removed from tournaments again, and we also have the return of reload tournaments. There's a lot to talk about. Let's jump into it. Before I get into talking about the new teams and how today's tournament went, we have a few big things in competitive to talk about. Firstly, we have the Reload Eval Cup. Fortnite is deciding they want to evaluate how tournaments run on Reload. And if you somehow missed how this went last time, it was an absolute disaster. They were some of the worst tournaments Fortnite has ever ran, week after week. Everyone hated them. They just ended up paying out a bunch of cheaters, and they literally were a complete disaster. They had almost no redeeming qualities. The format made no sense. The tournament just made no sense in general. There was a bunch of cheaters in every single game. There were so many bugs. It really was just terrible. There's no other way to put it, but they're bringing it back, and I'm hoping this time it's going to be better. A lot of people are saying this is most likely because of the Pro-Am that's coming up. We have the $500,000 Pro-Am LAN event in May. I'm guessing because that's run on the Reload game mode, they want to start testing the game mode for tournaments and making sure that's going to run well. I'm totally fine with that. It is only running on EU, and they've put it on Mondays. That means EU now has 7 days a week of tournaments, which is just insane. So if you want to play in this Reload Eval Cup, you're going to have to be Division 1 on any region, and you're going to have to play it on EU though. So I'm not sure whether they're going to roll this out to other regions. I don't know if it's going to become a weekly thing. They kind of announced it out of nowhere, but we now have Reload Eval Cups. Next up, we have some big changes to the settings in competitive Fortnite, or just Fortnite in general. So first off, Simple Edit has been removed from tournaments again. Unfortunately, for those of you guys who are excited to jump in and play it, a lot of people are really excited for this. They were added into competitive, but I did warn you guys that there was no proper announcement. There was no blog post, nothing. So it did seem like it might just be a bug. Turns out it looks like it was. Simple edits were not meant to be in competitive. They have now been removed again. So whether you liked that or didn't like that, we're back to just regular editing, which I get it. I saw a lot of people commenting like, this makes no sense. It's so uncompetitive. It makes you way better, way faster. It goes against what it is to be a pro player and practice the game. I fully get that. I thought it would have been cool to see how far people push it. I wanted to see a pro get insanely nuts on it, but I do fully understand why it shouldn't be in competitive, so it's now gone. But another one that's gonna, kind of help a lot of people, aim assist being buffed. And now I say buffed, is kind of being fixed mostly. Apparently it hasn't actually been changed. The values haven't been increased. Not like you have more aim assist when you lock onto a player, but a lot of the bugs that were happening with aim assist around certain guns, especially the shotgun, just not giving aim assist, and sometimes when players moved in a specific way or you moved in a way, you didn't get any aim assist. It looks like those bugs have been fixed for the most part. So aim assist has been inadvertently buffed because it's functioning the way it's supposed to. It's not broken and glitchy. And Fortnite has been changing how aim assist works with this new human-like aim assist that we talked about a bunch in the past. And it looks like yesterday's update was a big step forward for aim assist. Now, I don't play on controller. There's so few pros playing on controller now. It was hard to reach out to a lot of people and ask. I ended up tweeting it and getting a lot of opinions in the comments. And overall, the consensus seems to be that yes, it is better. But again, it's not stronger. It's not crazy. It just functions more consistently, and it feels like it's supposed to. It feels like what aim assist is meant to be. So that's extremely exciting news for those of you guys on controller. Again, let me know in the comments down below if you feel like your aim assist is actually working properly or being stronger over the last couple of days since the update, because I'm really curious to hear, because there's no way for us to actually fully check and know if it's being buffed, but I'm hearing a lot of people say it's a lot better. All right, now let's get into the NA snakening. Now, it's another day on NA, so it means we have about 10 new trios I have to talk about. I am not kidding. I talked in yesterday's video about how we had a bit of a snakening going on because Kanata split with Booga, and that's obviously going to create like a ripple effect. We now get to find out who's playing with who, and we got to see how they performed today. So first up, Kanata's new trio is none other than G Money and Osid. Now, a lot of people question this, like, yo, Kanata, why are you playing with G Money and Osid? You're a tier 1 player. You're an FNCS winner. These guys aren't up to your caliber. But Kanata went live and said, look, like right now, there's not a lot of options, but I believe in this team. I want to IGL again. I want to take my own, performance into my own hands. I'm going to lock in. These guys are grinding. They're looking crazy, and I think we can do really, really well. They ended up coming 5th in the day 1 of Div 1 Open, so they are looking really solid. Top 5, first time ever playing together. G Money and Osid, if you guys don't know, are both ex-controller players who made the switch to mouse and keyboard at the start of Chapter 6. They've now played mouse and keyboard for, this is their 2nd season properly. They came top 15 15 in their first grands last season with Seek on mouse and keyboard. They ended up being contested by Skittles as well, and they still got a top 15. Really solid performance. I truly do agree with Kanata here. I think both these players have crazy potential. They've got great vibes. They're used to playing together, so they have good synergy. Kanata stepping back into the IG role and taking his tournaments into his own hands. I'm very, very excited to see how this one goes. I like this trio. So that leaves the question, who is Booga and Threats with? Now, Threats we ended up seeing play with Rapid and Yapko, which means yes, Bolt has been dropped. Talk about him in a second. Rapid, Yapko, and Threats are now playing together. They came 12th overall, so they showed a lot of promise, a lot of potential here. It makes sense. All three of them don't make content. They don't really play with streamers. I think this is going to be a good team. Very underrated team, a very low-key team. I don't think they have, a lot of, chemistry in the past of playing with teammates or being in the same friend groups. I don't think we've ever actually seen these three play together outside of Rapid, Yapko, and Bolt, which started this season. So I'm interested to see whether they do last, but a 12th place is a solid performance. That leaves Booga, who doesn't have a trio right now. Booga can't play finals this week, so he didn't lock in a proper trio. He did end up just playing with Webster and Freeze for some fun, so we'll have to wait until next week, I guess, to see who Booga's going to play with. But I do have one team I have eyes on for Booga to potentially slot into, and that is Aviv Skittles, but they picked up Bolt. So Aviv and Skittles are now playing with Bolt, and they came first in today's open, so they played really, really well. So first place is an incredibly solid performance. Now, the rumor was that we were going to have, again, I know this is a lot, we were going to have Reed, Bryce, and Bolt, but Reed said that he didn't trust that Bolt wasn't going to snake on them. They expected they were just going to get dropped instantly. So Reed Bryce said, no, we don't want to play with Bolt. So he went and played with the Aviv and Skittles. Now, I'm kind of expecting potentially, depending on how this trio goes, for Booga to work his way in there. I mean, Booga, Aviv, and Skittles, like, they always find their way back to each other. People were saying that Aviv put himself on the Booga waitlist. He was literally not finding a proper trio because he knew something was going to happen between Booga and Kanata, and he was going to go back with Booga. I don't know how true that is. That is insane. And now Booga's looking for a trio, and Aviv's not playing with him. But like I said, Booga can't play finals this week, so maybe that's why Aviv didn't play with him. We'll have to wait and see. This is, again, just all speculation. So Reed and Bryce didn't play with Bolts, so who are they now playing with? They are now playing with Tony FV, a Hispanic player who, you probably haven't followed too much if you don't follow the Hispanic scene in Fortnite. Very, very good fighter. I've been gassing him up for a while now. We haven't seen him on a team of this caliber. Unfortunately, they came 82nd today. They didn't do extremely hot, but it could just be first day jitters. It could be their first time as a new trio. They did do the worst out of all of the new trios because the other new trio we have now is Noxy, Chimp, and Mason, who came third. They're looking really solid. I do feel for, Cypher PK. Cypher PK did the whole, PK team where he picked up Chance and Tyler as well. Sorry, Shadow and Tyler when it was Shadow, Tyler, Mason. Now, Shadow, Tyler have gone back with Chance, back to their original trio. So, unfortunately, Mason is just Mason, PK, not in the Mason team now. So, I don't know if PK plans to pick up Curve to fill up his trio. I know I'm throwing a lot of names at you. I know it's confusing. This is just what NA is now. I'm trying to keep you guys up to date with what's going on. Now, there's a few other players kind of floating around. We got to see Virgo, Craze, and TK play together. They came 13th. They are not a real trio, though, I don't believe, because Craze should still be playing with Bucky and Okas. Bucky was just away and couldn't play this week, but I mean, Craze maybe slides his way into a new trio. Maybe he's not playing with Bucky. Maybe Bucky steps away. He's been all over the place at the moment. He's had a lot going on in his real life. Maybe he's going to take a step back from Fortnite. We don't know. I believe it's still going to be Craze, Bucky, and Okas, but at this point, it's NA, man. Who actually knows what the hell is going on? EU's always a little bit more chill. We had some big new teams form yesterday for the Eval Cup, and I talked about it in my video saying, a lot of them didn't really do well. What's this going to mean for Savage? Can he, get some of these players on his team? Turns out, none of them ended up splitting. They all gave another shot in the Div Cup, and oh boy, best thing they did, because they all placed top 10. We had Haris, Tayson, and Chicho come first. So after doing very poorly in their first time playing together in Eval Cup, came first in Div Cup. Then we had Thomas, Panzer, and Pablo come in third. We had Pink, Nebs, and Kira come in sixth. And Trulek, Skivvy, and Teeny come in ninth. So EU, the new trios, looking real good. There's not a single one of them struggling for what I can see right now, at least out of the ones that I've had my eyes on. So I don't know what that means for Savage or the moving parts for him with different trios. Again, like I said, Savage did not play Div Cup finals this week. Opens this week. Because of his surgery, he cannot play the trio tournaments this week. He hopes to be back playing for the solo games. I ended up getting more information. It was a very routine surgery. It looks like everything went fine, so Savage is chilling, but he obviously can't play the tournaments this week. We did have another update on Mongrel. Mongrel, Prism, and Casper unfortunately had a pretty rough day. They didn't do very well at all. I don't know what this means for Mongrel's team going forward. The vibes still seemed good. They're not laughing and screaming and having a great time, but they're encouraging each other. It seems like they're staying positive, trying to improve. So hopefully things work out for Mongrel, Prism, and Casper, but they didn't do as hot as what we were hoping. But all the new trios in EU for the most part are looking really good. We've already talked about a bunch of the teams on the leaderboard, but I will run through it after day one. We had Hris winning EU. We had Vico Venoflixi come in second on 473. They had some very, very dominant games, multiple 20 bombs. Like I said, Pablo came in third. Then we had Chino, Sanguild, and Fredoxy, a brand new trio that I have not been focusing on too much, but they just came in fourth overall. They're looking really, really solid. And then we had Pix, Dam, and Damus round out the top 5 on EU. Meanwhile, over on NA, we had Aviv, Skittles, and Bolts win it, like I said. Then we had Muzz, Curly, and Rise in second. I'm actually really happy to see that Muzz and Rise didn't drop Curly in amongst all this snakening. There was rumors that Bolts was going to go play with Muzz and Rise, but again, they didn't quite trust that Bolts would stick with them. There was a lot of other moving parts, and Muzz and Rise, I believe, probably would have had the chance to drop Curly, and they stuck with it, which I really like. I like this trio right now. I think the teams that stay loyal, hopefully in the situations, will end up doing well. If you feel like your team wasn't doing that well and you're like, man, I feel like, you know, we don't have the fighting power with Curly, we're not going to do too well, and then a snakening starts, obviously, you know, find a better team. But if you're doing well and you feel confident in your trio, just because then the opportunity comes up to maybe pick up someone else, doesn't mean you have to jump on it. And I think that's what a lot of NA players and teams need to be reminded. If you went to bed happy with your team, you thought you performed well, and you wake up and all of a sudden there's other trios asking you to play, maybe stick with the trio you were happy with. That's all I'm saying. We'll see how it plays out. We had Noxy, Mason, and Chimp in third. We had Fishy's team, the Hispanic boys, in fourth. And then we had Kanata, G-Money, and Osid in fifth, like I said. Clicks was just outside of the top 5 in 6th place overall on 386. And then we had Peterbot's team in 9th, as well as our NA West FNCS champions in 8th. Now, I will say it is just day one qualifiers. Now, I know there's a lot of drama going around right now and people are getting frustrated, you know, trying to take Clicks' achievements away from him, or he only won in the Eval Cup, and oh, it's because Pete wasn't trying. There is a lot of frustration. I get it. Eval Finals has a lot of money on the line. $1,200 per trio per game is worth trying for, but Div 1 qualifiers, a lot of the top tier teams are not locking in. Peterbot stopped playing with like 45 minutes to go because he wanted to go play West. Clicks' team literally did a no-com challenge game where the first one to say a word had to pay the others $1,000. So they literally went an entire game without saying a single word to each other. So it's fair to say that in Div 1 qualifiers, a lot of these top tier teams know they're going to qualify. It's a 2-day final. They just don't lock in. They don't try like that, and they just play. So I wouldn't take too much of these performances. I think it's a great showing from the new trios. I think it shows they have potential, and I don't think it's a coincidence all the new trios are doing so well, because they're the ones who are trying so hard in these qualifiers because they have so much on the line. So we might not see the insane performance in finals from some of these teams we've just seen in opens. Don't be surprised if that happens, but I still want to point out their performance because it shows they do have the potential. But again, some of the tier 1 teams really do meme up these Div 1 qualifiers, so we'll have to wait and see how the finals go.